So your career has stagnated and now you want to do something about it. We're going to discuss what you should do today. My name is Modoni. You can call me M.
And I'm Lily. You can call me L.
And welcome to Mshauri Careers.
Mshauri careers, hanging with them. So what do we mean when we say career stagnation?
Yes, what is that?
So that just means you've been in sort of the same role, the same position for an extended period of time, maybe about 5 years or so. And there's really no growth.
Nothing has changed.
Your
Doing the
responsibilities
same
are
thing.
the same, and you're just sort of in this stuck limbo place.
And jobs we have found that are typical of stagnation are like librarian.
Yes, personal assistants.
Any job really that has assistant at the end.
Very administrative type roles.
Yeah.
You find that these roles tend to stagnate, or you get to a point where you're like head librarian and there's nowhere else to go, or
Yes.
you're a PA at the office of the CEO and there's nowhere else to go.
If this is you, and if you found yourself, this is you, your career has stagnated. And this restlessness you feel is something that we think you should pursue and try and see how to get yourself out of this stagnation. And we have tips for you to try.
So where do you start? Let's take you back to one of our previous episodes where we talked about SWOT.
Link up here, yeah?
So strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So you definitely have to sit down and reevaluate, reanalyze yourself. Even though you've been in this sort of role as an admin assistant for 5 years or so, what are some of the other strengths that you bring in? Maybe you're good at event planning because you've been involved in doing a lot of the corporate events.
Yes.
And this is something you can pivot to. So write these things down.
Put them down. Could be HR, a lot of project assistants, assist in hiring, in training. And these are now skills you can then align to a field.
Exactly.
That you can base your next steps on. Yeah?
Yeah.
Weaknesses, look at things that you haven't enjoyed about being a librarian.
Yeah.
Maybe it's being
stock taking.
Yeah.
And that's not your strength. So maybe you should go into finance and control, because that's something you'd have to do, purchasing or procurement. Might not be a good transferable skill for you.
Yeah. So once you have all this information down, then go to the mountains and think through what it is that you would like to move into. And this feeds into the next thing you should do.
Yeah, so you have your list.
Yes.
You have your strengths, you have your weaknesses, you have your opportunities and your threats. So then what next? And the one advice I would give that people really struggle with is they are always very quick to try and jump externally and apply for jobs externally.
Yes.
But I want to challenge you a little bit, because you have a lot of opportunities internally which you can actually use to pivot from your current role and actually take you to where you want to go.
And don't take for granted that you've spent 7 years, 10 years in this organization. It's a great thing. You've built networks, people know you, you've had experiences together. Maybe this is where you had your children, this is where you've seen your colleagues face challenges. So you have a bond. So these are people who will accommodate you as you're trying to learn something new.
And then don't always think of growth necessarily as always going up. You can actually move laterally to be able to move up.
Yeah.
So for example, if you are a PA and you found that finance is one of your strong suits, maybe you have done a lot of budgeting for the office, you do the supplies, and you find that that's a strong suit, you can always move to a finance assistant's job. Then
Take
that
the risk.
could progress you to a finance manager, and guess what? CFO at one day. And then the last thing when it comes to internal, volunteer to do projects that are organization-wide. So there's a Christmas party. Throw yourself in there. Be the project manager. We are launching a new project and they want to volunteer to do XYZ. throw yourself in there. Make yourself visible beyond just the skills or that are on your CV, and that way people will take a chance on you.
There you go. Before we continue, take a minute to subscribe to the channel and follow us on all our socials. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn as Mshauri Careers. Okay, let's get back into it.
Welcome back, guys. So you've done your own personal SWOT. You've looked internally at positions that are available for you to grow. What else? What next? Learning. And learning is absolutely key, because guess what? Only you can propel your career to where you want to be. If you did a degree 10 years ago and have done nothing to enhance the skills that you want to obtain in your new role, guess what? It'll be very difficult to put an argument on why we should hire you into this new role if you've not done anything in the recent past.
Exactly. And research is very key here, because as Lily has said, your degree, your master's, you did that. But the world of work now is quickly evolving. Every month, something in the technology space alters how work is executed in finance, in HR, in marketing, name it. So doing these digital courses online is something that must be part and parcel of your journey.
So we've done SWOT, check.
Yes.
We've done internal mobility, check. We've done learning, check. Let's talk about networks.
Yes. Plug yourself into your friends, family, acquaintances. Find coaches and mentors that you can discuss this path you're on and this field you want to grow in, and identify ways in which they can mentor you. Perhaps, job shadowing over the weekends, visiting that uncle of yours who looks after a marketing department, or sitting next to your auntie who is an HR manager, taking her out for coffee, inviting her over for a meal. Through these conversations, you can enhance this learning that you're experiencing as you work in a new internal role, as you do a new course on Coursera or Udemy, and it's just one key way to ensure that your new path to career progression is actually working.
And you learn so much by doing, and if you're able to do it, you can actually put this on your CV. And even though it might be pro bono, what it does, it demonstrates your ability to actually do the role.
Now, you've covered the fundamental things you must do. There are some fundamental skills that you must have. The top two for us is patience and risk taking. Because we're not ignorant of the fact that you being in a role for 10 years may imply that you're risk averse. You're not one who likes change very much. So being a risk taker is just one more thing that you must learn. I recommend finding a book about people who take risks. Find a course about clever ways to take risks and solve problems. And in that way, you can build your skill and exercise that muscle.
As Mudhoni has said, it is a muscle, and it's very difficult. It's actually very difficult to get out of your comfort zone. So above and beyond sort of reading the books, what I would also advise is look at your daily life and actually start to take small risks where maybe you might not have. For example, if you're the type of person who goes to a restaurant and orders the exact same thing at every single restaurant, but in a different place, take a risk.
Lasagna.
Look at the menu. I feel personally attacked. Look at the menu and see what else could you try, because that's what risk taking is about.
Try
and
pizza.
It's not easy. Yeah.
It's one of those things that you just have to decide. You make that decision that, you know what, I'm going to do this. And we talk about accountability partners a lot in previous episodes. So find someone who will walk this journey with you and always call you out when they feel that you're going back into settling and posing a risk to yourself.
And you started off by saying patience. And I want to remind individuals that sometimes you actually have to take a step back in order to propel yourself 3 steps forward. So don't look at it as a downgrade. Just look at it as a thing you have to do for right now to get where you want to be.
Imagine your brain having some biceps lifting weights. So it's just one of those things that you just have to keep exercising.
So I hope you have found what we've had to say fruitful. We've talked about the SWOT, we've talked about internal mobility, we've talked about networking, plugging yourself in, and lastly, we've gone through some of the soft skills that you need to be successful, to get out of that stagnation and take you to where you want to be.
Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Mshauri.